this has finally come to fruition though. Like this is something we were talking about and we followed through on it. So it's pretty cool to get this started for the first time.
Oh yeah, man, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think one of the we were talking about we're going to talk about the first episode and play Captain Hindsight a little bit, but one of my first ones is kind of the reason why we're here right now, and that is I wish I would have stayed in better contact with everyone. Like
Yeah.
the camaraderie that we have when we're in there is just like unbelievable. That's the thing I miss, And I you come out and I made some good friends when I got out for sure, and have of course friends that I had before, but the friends that I made in the army were always like just a different level, different breed. And when you get back
No,
together, you're just like, yeah,
of course, man. And I try to do my best, reaching out here and there. Hard to keep up all the time. I should probably do a quick introduction of myself. So, Sergeant Jones is kind of what I go by. I did 6 years airborne infantry. Gillham here. We've been friends for a long time. We served together. A couple tours in Afghanistan. Got out in 2015 and started doing the civilian thing. Me and Gillham have been talking for a while and kind of wanted to put this together and help our other veterans acclimate to civilian life and, kind of deal with the struggles together. It's not easy getting out and it's not easy being a veteran. So we thought this would help people, getting out. And I guess that being said, my top one to follow yours up would be utilizing the gyms, the free equipment, the rope climbs, every piece of equipment you could ever imagine, and using people's expertise and knowledge of working out. Dude, I wasted all of it. A lot of wealths of information just because it was forced to run and everything was kind of one size fits all. They tell you what you're going to bench press, what you're going to do, and you get kind of rebellious, don't want to do it. And dude, if I could go back, I wouldn't have been 147 pounds. That's for sure.
yeah, you were so thin, and you completely changed your body, but you're still like a beast. Because I mean, that's the thing is like we were in the infantry, and we were forced, like you said, to do all this stuff, and it didn't make it fun, like we just got treated like absolute children constantly, and just babied and mothered and screamed at, you know, and it was just like, yo, okay, I get the morning PT, but let us go work out. And I don't want to work out with my squad leader who's not cool about working out. He wants everyone to all like, hug each other and do it his way. And I don't know. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's a weird environment when you're
Yeah.
being forced to do things as a one size fits all. You got dudes that are 250 pounds and guys that are 150 pounds. Their run speeds aren't going to be the same. What they're able to lift isn't going to be the same. And then you'll get leaderships that are all gung ho for CrossFit, and you may not be into that. Dietary stuff, same thing, man. Trying to force feed people, which, like I said, looking back now, I wish I would have done it. I wish I would have eaten more sandwiches, asked some of these guys about what supplements they were using and taking and how they were getting so much bigger than I was. But hindsight's 2020, I guess.
Yeah. I know. I feel like I didn't get my strongest till I deployed, though. That was when, you know, in between doing missions and all that stuff, it was really the only thing. And it was something you wanted to do kind of thing, or just like, ugh, watch movies, work out, go to guard duty, do missions, like that was it.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me a lot though, too, because it got me in like instead of me feeling like forced to do it, it was something that I'd actually kind of wanted to do because it helped with stress and all that. And it was better
Yeah,
than just
more of a
smoking,
pastime.
better than just smoking cigarettes all the time, which I still did. But I mean,
Uh,
that was the craziest thing about fitness though, is some of those guys I'm like, I need to drink water the night before and be prepared. And some guys showed up like drunk and smoked
like
two
me.
cigarettes. And they could run 5 miles after being drunk and smoking a pack. I'm like, how?
Yeah, I
How?
mean, and that was my lifestyle for a long time, was just showing up drunk and running. I mean, there was no lifting weights. It was run 5 to 8 miles after drinking a fifth. It's,
Yeah.
very healthy.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't really introduce myself too much, but I was in the 10th Mountain Division. Um, Jones here, after he was in the airborne, he went over to my unit for your second contract or whatever, and you were my team leader. Actually, a couple times because we'd always rearrange squads. I think one of
Yeah.
the first times you were my team leader, and then we rearranged squads again. And then I came back, and then you were my team leader again. And
Then I
then
think I
yeah,
became your squad leader towards the end.
yeah, yep, yep. And so you were always, my direct leadership for most of it. Most of the time, you taught me a lot of stuff. I think one of the best lessons I got from you though was shooting properly with a saw, because I was your saw gunner, and the feet. I still remember. I think you and Smolowitz were showing me the feet stance, how to plant your feet in the back. I still remember that. Where a different way than normally a rifleman would shoot. You like go like
Yeah.
this, put your feet out in the back, and like plant out. And I
Make
was like,
sure you get
oh
some
yeah,
good grip and balance.
yeah. And that always was like, it was always good to have good leadership, because that was the thing about you, is you weren't like our friend, but you kind of were at the same time. But you look after us, and then there's like the other leadership that are just like, yeah, you're mine. You have to be everything. you know.
Which I
Uh,
mean, they all have their pros and cons too, because it also makes
yeah,
it difficult when your buddy screws up and you're like, man, I
yeah,
know what I have to do. He knows what I have to do,
yeah,
and it's going to get awkward.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
remember.
what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what was your second thing?
Well, my second thing, I really wished I would have done classes going in, because the one thing they don't ever tell you is these colleges have this little loophole, and they're like, if you don't, if you don't, if you've been out of high school for so long, you have to take our test, and if you don't do good on this test, you have to do this like introduction to math, introduction to English, and a couple other those intros that don't even really count for college credits. So you get a whole semester kind of wasted just doing these refresher courses to get you up to speed. And I'm like, that's totally a money.
It's
They
brutal.
figured out something. They figured out something. And if I would have just gotten associates while in, because they always say like in college you don't really know what you're going to do until you kind of do it and you figure it out. Well, if I
Yeah.
already did my associates, I could have figured out a little bit, maybe a bit more of what I wanted to do, and then I would get out with free college, free 2 years at least done, and I'd have a GI Bill probably to finish the bachelor's for sure, and maybe get a master's if that's the route I wanted to go. But
Yeah. That's a good segue into mine, man, because my second one is I wish I would have changed MOSs somewhere along the line. I mean, dude, being infantry and you get out, if you don't want to be a cop, it makes things difficult because that's kind of all that wants you. And
yeah,
I wish I would have picked something
uh,
with a trade or a skill, or I mean, I could have been a medic, mechanic, really anything, so that when I got out, I could have got a decent paying job instead of getting out and struggling for a year or two learning a new craft. I wish I would have learned a new skill before I got out.
my thing is I wish kind of a third thing that I really wished I did is go out and explore and do hobbies, because you have like a lot of money to blow on, so you can go out and do adventurous things. And I did something recently on my birthday this year, and I flew a plane.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
um, yeah, I'll have to send you those videos of me. I flew a plane. It was called a discovery flight, and I didn't take off and land. The instructor did, but once he took off, he handed the control. I was on the other side, and I took over the controls, and I flew for about 55 minutes in the air. Um, and we
That's
did a.
awesome, man.
I went around a couple lakes. Like, it wasn't like I was just like I was banking. He's like, "Wow, you feels like you've done this before." And I was like, honestly, I think it's probably all the video games. But I mean, I was smiling. I was just seeing this picture. I'm just smiling the whole time. But I'm like,
Did
I'm like,
Yeah,
I
some
could
of
have been a
that.
pilot. I could have been a pilot. I would have loved that. And I used to think about that as a kid. I'm still thinking about it. It's just the economy right now and the cost to go. I even bigger. I want to be a helicopter pilot. I'm really thinking about it right now.
That'd be
Midlife
cool.
crisis.
I have a couple military buddies that got out and started flying helicopters commercially. But yeah, different MOSs, man. I remember. I'll never forget one of the happiest people I ever met in the military. I was at WLC, and this dude next to me was like looking at his AR-15, like all surprised and happy with it. And he looked at his rucksack and was like going through all the pockets. So I go over there. I was like, dude, what's going on, man? You haven't had a rucksack or a gun this whole time? He's like, no, man. This was a sergeant. I was like, dude, how'd you make it 5, 6 years in and you haven't done anything? And he was like, oh, I'm a plumber. And I was like, so you're a plumber on base? He's like, no, man, they don't let us. They're civilian contractors. I was like, well, what about deployment? He was like, they don't let me deploy because there's not enough of us. I was like, so what have you done for 5 years? And he's like, dude, I've been playing spades for 5.5 years. Dude had never been on a ruck march, never shot a rifle, anything, dude. Just he was so blissfully happy too.
The green weenie had it took any life out of him.
None.
He's just been shamming the whole time. He's like the one MOS that can just fly underneath the rug.
Dude, I think like a year later they ended up nixing it. They combined it with another MOS. I didn't really look into it, but he made it a long time flying under the radar.
Yeah, that's insane. And who was his like commander, like his CO or whatever? Like,
I
what
have
did
no
they do?
idea.
Who did he report to? Like,
Well, he said he would just go to the motor pool with the mechanics and hang out. I don't know that he had an actual chain of command.
They just lost him somehow. He just makes it up as he goes. They're like,
He's probably still there.
All their COs are like, that's not my guy. I don't know who that guy is. He must be another unit.
He just swaps out his rank with a colonel, walks around running the place.
He just checks his what was it, ERB, and he's like, oh, got my promotion. Nice.
There's no one else to like fight for the E7 in his.
They actually promoted me early because it's just me.
Dude, that's probably how some of these first sergeants got it, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
let's see. Number 3. Dude, this one I go back and forth on. Deployed again. A lot of me at the time didn't want to, especially my wife had just got pregnant. I was coming up on my 3rd deployment, and that's kind of where I weighed my pros and cons and called it quits. Now that I've been out for a while, I see dudes that have done 4, 5, 6 deployments, dudes with Purple Hearts and Silver Stars, all this cool guy stuff. Been to different providences I didn't get to go to, and a lot of me misses it. Wonders if I had gone, if things would be different for other units, other people, maybe mishaps that I could have helped with. And dude, that's a big one that's bothered me over the years since I got out, is just wishing I should have stayed in, got a few more deployments under my belt. 2 just doesn't sound like a lot when I'm talking to dudes who've been in 3, 4, 5 deployments, been to multiple countries instead of just Afghanistan. And that's kind of my biggest one of the 3.
Yeah, I get that. I think I was very fortunate because I got to serve under some really good guys. You were one of them. And like one of our platoon sergeants, I try not to name drop anybody.
Yeah.
But I think he said he'd been on 7 deployments, and he was
Oh
in
yeah.
Ranger
He had been in
too.
quite a few.
He was in Ranger Battalion actually. And I was just like, man. But that's the thing. I think what gets us is family. You had kids, he had kids, and I'm guaranteeing his wife was the reason why he moved out of the Rangers and went just to regular infantry, because they was probably deploying so much, and it takes a toll, And especially when you have
for
family.
sure.
I think if you were single and you didn't have kids, you might be still deploying. You might be
Yeah, I probably would have stayed in.
you might be getting stealing us a couple Blackhawks back.
Dude, anything, I don't know. Missing a whole year of their life was a rough thought. I guess that, I don't know. It always bothered me thinking about it, but the same thing. I don't know. It's a tough one to go back and forth on because it's kind of selfish both ways. So if you're wanting to, go ahead and what's your third one?
Well, my third one is I'm not going to give everyone financial advice, but if I could give myself back in time financial advice, I would have like done something with some of that extra money. I mean, you come out from a deployment and you have over $10,000 easily. I think I came back with $15,000, and I was spinning some stuff at home, a couple times. I know some people came back with like over 20,000, and man, I mean, needless to say, I did buy a couple things that I still have to this day, like my couch actually. But man, I could have made some investments, and that's my 30-year-old mind looking at my mind like, man, and now I've put some investments in now, like different cryptocurrencies and stuff.
Yeah.
Whew, I like,
No.
real Captain Hindsight Bitcoin. If I would have just watched a financial podcast, I probably would have got tipped off by some kind of crypto, and maybe I put in just a little bit of money into Bitcoin, and I could be buying a house right now. But I
Yeah,
did buy
dude.
a
I
house,
mean,
but with that kind of money, you could own a house without a mortgage.
yeah, and that's a good one because I actually have a buddy right now who had leadership that helped him out in that aspect. His master sergeant had pulled him aside. He was 18 and told him, look, every paycheck, I want you to put $50 into investments. I'll help you go through it, which ones to use. And after a year was like, look, you're going to bump it up to 150. And so the guy's been investing since he was 18. He ended up staying in 12, 13 years, investing the whole time. And he's set. I mean, he made some good choices. He knows how it works. And that'll always be there. He'll have that security moving it around. And now he kind of knows what he's doing just because someone told him to do it.
Yeah, and I think that is when it comes really good leadership, when they just encourage their guys to listen. I can't order you to do money things, but just look into this. Look into this. Don't go to the dealership outside of the base and get that Corvette with the 32% interest rate.
That's the worst, though. As soon as you tell them not to, they just beeline it for the closest car dealership or the closest tattoo artist charging $500 an hour to do some crappy little cross skulls.
See, I didn't have a vehicle because I got a DUI, not when I was in the military, and I just left my old vehicle at my parents', and I think it just went to salvage yard. And I went almost my entire Army career just taking cabs everywhere and bumming rides. And I finally did buy a vehicle, though. I did buy a vehicle. When I did, it was actually something smart because I definitely I think by then I was an E4 and I knew all the chatter. And I drove all the way to Dallas, Texas to a dealership there to buy it. Way far away from the base. And that was, I know, like, people like to jeer like the, privates when they come in and give them a hard time, but you also don't let them do that. Don't let them do the really dumb stuff. It's okay if you want to, haze them a little bit or whatever you're doing, but don't let them go blow all their money on the new Corvette at the
new
dealership
Corvette
outside.
bubbles down the road.
Mustangs and Camaros just everywhere. That's like literally a military base.
Oh yeah, and motorcycles. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the best thing to do, man, is wait for a deployment coming up. These dudes don't want it just sitting around for a year, sell their motorcycle and Corvette for little to nothing because they just don't want the debt.
yeah. There's so many dumb decisions. Many dumb decisions. And that's the thing is I wish I just had a little bit better financial, foresight back then. I could have set myself up a lot better. I mean,
For sure.
Mind you, maybe that's something we could have a guest on, someone that that has a lot of financial insights on that. We can maybe get like a crypto guy on here, that a veteran that
for
does
sure.
cryptocurrency or something. That'd be kind of cool.
And there's tons of those. And I've got some buddies I want to have on. One of them, I don't know if you, well, we won't name drop. I've got a buddy that made it huge as a streamer. I would love to have him on. I mean, he's crushing it on Twitch. He's in the top %. He's out there balling out of control. I'd love to have him on, to talk to some of these dudes about getting out and getting into gaming and videos. And yeah, I plan on having lots of different people on.
Yep. And that's the future of this podcast, is we're going to try to get lots of cool guys on here, talk about different resources, different gears. I know we've already been talking about maybe getting a couple Green Berets on here, or former Green Berets. And I know people probably like to hear that. Everyone likes to hear Special Forces.
Make sure you guys drop some stuff in the comments. Whatever you want to see us talk about. If you know somebody that would like to come on, answer some questions.
Yeah, because we're gonna go. We're gonna have the fun nights, but there's gonna be times that we might have to go into some, the stuff that we need to talk about, like family.
Some dark places.
Like me, I'm divorced.
Yeah, that's a whole episode.
It is, man. Actually,
divorce in the military. We could make a 2-hour podcast. Well, looks like we finished our first episode. Went pretty smooth. Like I said, make sure, clap that one. Make sure we get some people in the comments, get some likes.